Hello and welcome to another episode of Crash Chords Autographs. I, of course, am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. And this week, real quick, before we get into the episode, I, of course, want to thank my patrons Rob, Robert, Case, and MJ for supporting me over at patreon.com/Stormageddon. If you'd like a shout-out, you can just support me at the $5 level, and you, too, will get a shout-out right here on this show. But, of course, I welcome support at any level, or even if you can't pony up the dollars, I totally understand, and a share or a review, a like, a subscribe, all that stuff is super helpful, recommending to a friend. Really quick, also my sponsor for this episode is Bean Quest Coffee, made by two brothers who love video games and coffee. You can go to bean-questcoffee.com and use the discount code DJ_coffee. You get 5% off your order. I highly recommend it. Their coffee is amazing. Let's chat about this week's guest, which is the incredible Super Smack. He is a badass nerdcore rapper. His newest EP, Neon Red, came out very recently, and we had a chat about that, his introduction to nerdcore, his love of video games from when he was a kid, his particular affinity for Nintendo as he wears a Nintendo Switch jacket, and much more. I had a blast chatting with Super Smack. I really dig his stuff, and I'm glad that I was able to get him on the show. So without further ado, here is me and the incredible Super Smack. Your stuff since I think it was Lex who was like, so you got to check out this guy Super Smack, he's my boy. Yeah. we did South by Southwest together, like, and I think she's the one who sent me the video of the Crazy Rich Asians freestyle, which is the first thing I ever saw.
Wait, are we recording right now?
Yeah, currently.
Holy moly! Oh my gosh!
I flow right in like that.
I love it. That was so smooth.
Yeah, I've been doing this for almost 10 years. You'd think I'd learn at least a little something. So,
nice.
You know. But yeah, like, first of all, like, I love the way you create your video aesthetic on YouTube. I know you only have a few videos up there right now, but I think what really attracted me to the Crazy Rich Asians freestyle, besides the fact that I just wanted to hear it, was just the way you presented it, the way you framed it, all of that stuff.
Oh, dude, I appreciate that. I was actually just, right before I came here, I was just meeting with a director who wants to work with me. And he was like asking me about kind of what I wanted out of my music videos. And I told him, honestly, I was like, I know that it's probably not the smartest or at least the most popular advice or like path to take. But like, I know consciously that I'm like, I'm not putting out as much content as like I could, or like some of my peers do, or other people do. Especially YouTube these days is like, it's different than it was like a few years ago. Like the pace of your output really matters on YouTube, I think. Yeah. And I know that I'm like moving slow and deliberate, but that's like kind of my choice, at least for now. That might change, but it's like, to me, it's really important to have like each video be, I don't know, like, to have like a very like unique and like striking aesthetic to it. And I was like, I don't want there to be any weak links in the chain if somebody goes and checks out my videos, just like I wouldn't want that with like any of my songs. So,
for sure.
Like, that's part of the reason why I'm moving slowly, but I'm okay with it for now.
Yeah. I mean, I was super excited when Neon Red came out because at that point I'd been listening to the singles you had on your Spotify and wherever else they were, but like there was no album. And Neon Red is not an album, it's only an EP.
Yep. We'll get there eventually.
Right. For those who don't know, of course, I am talking with nerdcore, brilliant nerdcore rapper, Super Smack. And we're talking about Neon Red. So there are tons of artists in the nerdcore scene who are making songs about, video games or doing like references here or there. Yeah. Tons of folks have done whole songs about certain games and stuff. But clearly you have a shine for Nintendo and the Nintendo aesthetic. I mean, you rap in a Nintendo Switch jacket.
Yep.
So does that come from just that was the thing that you gravitated to in gaming when you were growing up? Was like Nintendo your favorite of all the gaming consoles?
Yeah, Nintendo was my video game console. I was always like a Nintendo kid growing up. I eventually got a PS2 and a PlayStation so I could play DDR.
Nice,
because I got really into DDR.
Of course, sure.
But yeah, through and through, it's been Nintendo. And
what was the first Nintendo console you ever got?
It was a you've probably never heard of this. It's called the Good Boy.
The Good Boy.
The Good Boy was probably one of several bootleg knockoffs of an NES.
Oh, really?
That was released in like, I don't know, it was probably released in like China or somewhere.
Right, sure.
But like my family's Filipino, and I think we got it through like one of my aunts or uncles. They like showed up with like this Christmas present, and it was this like shiny black plastic console, but it had, I don't think it had any cartridges, or it had one cartridge,
right?
And that one cartridge had like 300 NES games on it
wow.
that were just pirated. And I didn't know this at the time. I was just like, I'm playing the Good Boy.
Yeah.
And it had like track and field. It had like the circus game. I don't know if you ever played those.
Sure.
Yeah, it had like all of those just like in a list.
Wow.
It was crazy. So that was technically the first video game system I had. And then I never got a proper NES. Because why would I? I had all the games.
You got the Good Boy. What did you need a regular NES for?
Yeah, but the Super Nintendo was the one that like I think that made a huge impact on me. I just like the amount of like emotional investment that I got from the Super Nintendo, because I think that was where some of the first video games with stories to like really impact me. Like I played some of my first RPGs on there.
Sure, of course.
Playing like co-op games, and then also like the music. Like I think the music of like the 16-bit era, I think holds up today as like, that's like the golden age of hip hop for me. It's like, that's how I feel about like 16-bit era.
Yeah, sure.
Like video game music, and video game music now is phenomenal too. But like I would always keep going back and like revisiting that music. So I think there's like a lot of reasons why that like Nintendo made an impact on me, but that's a big one.
I mean, with the Super Nintendo especially, so like it's funny. So I have a Nintendo Switch. I assume you have one as well.
Yep. It's in my backpack.
I carry mine. I'll show you later. I have a Nintendo Switch backpack that holds the system, the dock, controllers, and it can fit my laptop.
I like that. It's I like
good.
it a lot.
But when they released the Nintendo Online where you could play NES games, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is kitschy. Like I remember loving my NES, but what I had forgotten was once they released the SNES Online and all of those games that are on it, like those are the games that first started to make a real impact on me. Like I've been Twitch streaming recently, and I've been streaming Super Metroid.
Yeah.
And like I had been just playing a little bit of each Super Nintendo game on each stream, but with that one, like I got so invested that now I'm playing it as a series, trying to finish it.
Nice.
And like every time I boot it up, like some of the tunes that I remember, I'm humming along to, like especially like when you get an item or whatever. Yeah. I think some of that music is, and definitely the artwork is better than, like the Polygon generation did not age well. Like looking at like old Tekken or old like I love Final Fantasy VII. Those models do not look good. Yeah. Like, you know, but like the sprite work.
Yeah. All
of that stuff has aged really well.
I think I heard somewhere, I forget, it might have been like an IGN or an interview or something like that, where someone made the point that in the 16-bit, by the time they got to 16-bit, they had like they spent a lot of the 8-bit era figuring stuff out, because they were like figuring out 2D, and by the time they got to 16-bit, they had like figured it out. So there was like this mastery over and that's kind of the 32 and 64-bit areas are kind of the same way. They were like, everyone was still kind of figuring out how to do like 3D and joysticks on like a handheld controller.
Totally.
So by the time they got to like PS2 and like GameCube and Xbox, it was just like off to the races.
Yeah.
It was like in terms of just the polish. I mean, I love my N64 too.
Oh, me too.
Like best party system, still best party system ever.
Yeah, it's the only system that and the GameCube were the only systems I ever owned 4 controllers for.
Yeah.
Since and after, I've never owned the Xbox 360. I might have accumulated them over time.
Yeah.
But like with the N64, when I first got it, I only had 1 controller, and then as soon as I could afford 3 more controllers, I bought them. Or like my friends would bring controllers over. Like some of my favorite party games were on the N64.
Yeah.
But let's redirect back to Neon Red, which is your newest EP.
Sure.
Which is full of Nintendo stuff in it. Either the beats are Nintendo related, the lyrics are Nintendo related, sometimes both. And I want to talk about, it's hard to pick a favorite track, but one of my favorite conceits on that record is Funky. Because I love Donkey Kong Country, like everyone else who grew up in that generation. But my favorite thing about that song is not only are you and the other rappers playing the different characters from the series, but the way you masterfully mix in the Kremlin like sound into the beat. Like the first time I heard it, I just audibly went, "No, he didn't just do that." Like, was that kind of a thing? So, and clearly, it's influenced by the music of Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
Was that song from the get always like, I need something from Donkey Kong Country, and I'm gonna write this song that's about Donkey Kong Country?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So I think it all started with the EP. Mm-hmm. So the idea was I want to do either an EP or an album, ended up being an EP, or a mixtape, ended up being an EP of songs that I felt like were honest to my roots. Because a lot of the MCs who I really admire, I studied their like discographies and I looked at their early works, and their early works, like a theme was like people rapping about their roots.
Right.
You know, everyone from Nas to Jay-Z to De La Soul to Kanye to friggin' all the greats talk about, they tell you where they've come from.
Right.
And I think that's what's so compelling to me about like rap in particular as a genre.
Right.
Is like this kind of like autobiographical quality to it.
Totally.
And so I was like, okay, what are like my roots? And I could rap about like the neighborhoods I grew up in, but the neighborhoods I grew up in weren't, to me at least, they weren't like super interesting, or at least enough to like inspire like a lot of music. I might end up writing about like Gilbert, Arizona one day, but
Sure. You're from Gilbert, Arizona?
I was born in Gilbert, Arizona, and then I really grew up. I lived there till I was 10, and then from 10 to 18, and then I left for high school, I lived in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I was out in the suburbs.
My spouse is from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So,
there's a lot of random Arizona connections.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's where I was like, what else can I pull from? And I realized it was like, where I really feel like I spent a lot of time hanging out as a kid was in these like imagined worlds that were created in the video games. So that was that. And then I just started to research. I was just looking up video game tunes. Like what video game tunes could I rock with? And I found a couple of really good remixes. And then I found some songs that I was like, I definitely want to remix this song. I'll work with the producer. And then one song that I found that just in its raw form, I was like, I could rap over this, was Funky Kong. This was Funky Kong's from Donkey Kong Country 2.
Okay.
Which is hilarious because as a level, you spend maybe like 0.1% of your time of the game in Funky Kong's level, because it's like it's Funky's flight, so it's like you use his blades to
fly you around. I totally remember
but that song still stuck out to me. And David Weiss is the composer.
Correct, yeah.
Friggin' brilliant.
I love him and Grant Kirkhope. Pretty much anything that they work on. I mean, I followed their legacy through, like, even the newer Donkey Kong Country games, through, like, Yooka-Laylee and, like, all of that. Like, it wasn't until I was an adult that I started to nerd out about composers of video games. Like, when I learned about the composer of Final Fantasy also had a heavy metal band and played heavy metal versions of those songs. I was like, what? That's not possible.
Yeah. They're so
it's
good.
Just so
They're
great.
so good.
And so that song was composed by David Weiss?
That song was composed by David Weiss, and then I found a remix that I thought really brought it out to life even more by this dude, James Garrison Summers. And I asked if I could rap over his beat, and he was like, yep, and we worked it out. And
That's awesome.
It was great. Yeah, I wrote that song. I started writing that song on a long train trip from Chicago to LA. It was like a 2.5 day train ride, and I was like, I want to write like 2 songs, or at least like 4 verses on this train ride. And so I started writing that song on that train ride, and that song was I just wanted to like write something like fun and very like 90s and just like a jam that like people could like rock to, and if people got the video game references, cool, but I wanted it to like just the sound to be so fun that like I do that song now. I use that song as an opener sometimes, or as just like my second song in like live sets, because it's so. From what I've seen, it's just so effective at like
it just
getting
pulls
people to
in.
move. It pulls people in. And that's like, shout outs to the composer and that, and the remix artist. But yeah. And then for the record version, I was like, one verse the first verse that I wrote was kind of inspired by Donkey Kong.
Right.
The second verse was inspired by Diddy Kong. And I was like, well, why not round out the whole family?
And have both, yeah.
Yeah, so I brought on Omai and Lex to be K. Rool and Dixie.
And they're phenomenal. And, like, it's funny, too, like, the first time listening to that album, like, realizing that, like, and also I've been listening to Lex pretty much since she started putting out music. Ever since Schaefer shared a video of her from South by Southwest. And, like, and I made a joke with her when I came to your show at Arlene's Grocery that literally I can't pick up an album without her being on it.
Yeah.
Like Beefy just put out his second half of one of his records, and like she's there, and I'm like, you're just literally on everything. And then when I listened to the EP, I was like, oh, there's Lex. She dropped another verse, and the fact that she's doing Dixie Kong, which is like she's not kidding. Like I don't know any dudes who didn't love playing Dixie more in the second game. Like
the best.
Just the best character.
The best.
Also, I will fight anybody. The second game is better than the first game. Like
I absolutely agree.
Like I love Donkey Kong. I'm a big Donkey Kong fan, but that second game is just the better game.
It is incredible. I also think like both in gameplay and character, like the Diddy Dixie like chemistry is just really good.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just really, really good. Yeah.
And so you reached out to them and then they wrote their verses. Did you have your verses done when you reached out to them?
I had my verses done.
And so you sent them what you had?
Yeah. There's sometimes I reach out to artists before, and all I'll have is a hook.
Yeah.
Sometimes all I'll have is a concept.
Yeah.
Sometimes all I'll have is a beat, but usually I have something. This was one of the songs where I had like the most, where I had like both of my verses. I was like, these are gonna bookend. And then originally it was I brought Oh My on as K. Rool, and then I was just like, I was sitting there, I was like, how can I do a Donkey Kong Country tribute track that's missing literally my favorite character from the game?
Yeah,
totally. And I was like, I'm not gonna write a Dixie Kong verse. That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And so I asked Lex, and it was actually that was the last piece that came together before the album was tied.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was literally the day that she moved to New York.
Oh, cool.
Or the night after. And I asked her, I was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to get into the studio and record this?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Lex a little bit because you guys did a really great tour. How many cities did you go to?
16.
16 cities in what, 3 weeks?
20 days.
Damn.
Yep.
And like, so did Lex, because you say in your song, Everybody's Got Game. Or Everyone Got Game?
Everybody Got Game.
Everybody Got Game.
Yep.
That, like, you tell the story that they're pretty much like, you need to come to South by.
Yeah.
Did you know Lex before South by?
I met Lex through Instagram DMs.
Oh, right, because you had liked each other's stuff.
Yep.
And you
I
just
followed
reached
her,
out.
she followed me, we started DMing, and then we had this like long extended internet conversation about like what is nerdcore, and her kind of like extending like the hand of like come join this like nerdcore like adventure. And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, I think you should do it, and like specifically you should come to South by. And then so she talked to DJ Rockman.
Oh, nice.
And who was putting together Nerdcore Days, and they brought me on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so then you both did this tour for over 20 days.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so many. Like, it's just such a and you did a lot. And you like, you get a flat tire at one point,
We
and
got
like,
tire, we had all sorts of crazy stuff happen
like
on the road.
But I mean, I went to the Arlene's Grocery show. Like, people were hyped. I mean, I also know New York is like your town, and like your sister was there, and a bunch of friends were there. But like, the energy that the two of you give is just so frenetic, and like it actually is related to one of your songs. So I have immediately loved every one of your songs the minute I heard them except one.
Okay.
Which was Sandra Bullock. I heard it and went, this is really different. This is so interesting. And I had trouble wrapping my brain around it. But then I saw you do it live. I saw you do it live at Arlene's Grocery, and I went, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, and now I love the track because I get that you have so much fun doing that song. It's just like a braggadocio song. It's like a confidence song.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's so different from everything you had done up to that point. Where did the idea for something like Sandra Bullock come along?
Oh man, that's really funny that you said that, because Sandra Bullock is by far my most like quote unquote like successful song. It's by far the most streams. People always request me to do it live, and even people who've never seen me live have connected with me on the internet through the recording of the song. But the only other person who's had a kind of a similar reaction to you was my sister. Actually, I did the song for her, and she was like, I don't know, I don't really get it. So it's funny. People have different tastes.
Sure, totally.
But for Sandra Bullock, so I have a rap like notebook. I have like both digital and on paper. I keep like anytime I have an idea, I like throw it down so I can revisit it later. So anytime I'm looking for like I want to write a song, I just go back to that list and look through things. And I saw that I had written this. I had written just like a one-line phrase, and it was Mr. Congeniality, and I was like, that's a funny concept.
Yeah.
I loved that. I still love that movie.
It's a great
movie.
I don't care what anybody says.
It still holds up. I've watched it a million times. And then I started thinking about Sandra Bullock, and then I just started like saying the name over my head, and I was like, and then I heard this trap beat in my head, and I was like, oh, that just her name, Sandra Bullock. It like sounds like it has that trap rhythm, and I hadn't done a trap song.
Right.
That's still really my only like real trap song. And I wanted to do a song that both, because trap is such like the trend now.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are a lot of songs that are actually like have merit and are good.
Oh, sure.
So I wanted to write a song that kind of made fun of trap music.
Yeah.
While also being like a celebration of trap music.
And being a really good trap song.
Yeah. So that's like was like the challenge. And of all my songs, Sandra Bullock was the one that I probably took the least amount of time to write. Some songs I take months on.
Oh,
that
really?
one I wrote in like one sitting.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It just kind of came out.
And I love that. I love being able to like connect live performance to enjoying a song. And like your live shows are super high energy. You're super interactive. And what I really love also about the New York show is like your sister sings on a track, and she was there, and you did the track live.
Yeah, that was really special.
I also got to talk to your sister because she
co-directed Choose, the music video.
Yeah, and so Choose is when I first really got into you. I discovered you through the Crazy Rich Asians freestyle, but when I saw the video for Choose and how black box it was, but still with all of those references and like that perfect use of the N64 Smash Brothers music, like I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I need more from this dude. Tell me a little bit about making that music video, because it's clear like everyone's casted very specifically to sort of resemble the characters, and like the movements are super like specific, and like the art style is super unique. Like, what was that like creating that music video? Did you have an idea for that after you wrote the song?
Yeah. I think I wrote the song first without the video concept in mind. I found that beat. It was an instrumental jazz cover from this jazz trio in New Orleans called Joe Mella. It just incredibly covered that. Like,
yeah, it's such a great version of that
Smash
Smash
64 song. I started writing it, and I think that as I started, let me back up. Up until that point, pretty much all of the work that I had done was like narrative or theatrical in some form, because my background was in musical theater. That was one of the things. That and like hip hop dance were like the two things that kind of led me into rapping, weirdly enough. But a lot of my work was like talking about some work of fiction, so like Crazy Rich Asians or Star Wars, or I was like rapping as a character or something like that. What I really wanted to do with and why I kind of like started Super Smack was I wanted to finally like rap as myself. Right. And so I was like, well, if I'm rapping as myself, I need to start by telling people like who I am. So I need a self-introduction song, and I need to tell people this path that I took to get here. And I thought, like, what better kind of like metaphor for that than like choosing your character?
Yeah, it's such a brilliant idea for a song.
And that's like what I kind of was aiming to do with that, and a lot of the other songs on Neon Red is like not to just rap about the video game, but to like I'm literally telling you something that's very like that's deeply personal and kind of hard for me to say in any other way, and the best way I know how to express it is through a video game metaphor.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was that, and then the video. There were a couple inspirations for that video. Bruno Mars at the time did That's What I Like, and that's where got an idea for some of the animations,
Mm-hmm.
so he used that. And then Chance the Rapper has a video for his song Sunday Candy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that is also like has dance and theater,
Yeah,
but also
totally.
on film. And I wanted to capture that. And then the Switch jacket was made for that video, and I was like, I wanted to like literally embody like some of like the symbols that I was talking about, and so I designed that jacket, had it made for that video, and then it kind of became like one of my symbols.
Right. Yeah, that jacket, like the first time I saw it, I was just like, damn it, that's so brilliant. That's such a great idea. I was so excited that you had announced at your show that at some point you're going to be selling a version of it as a hoodie, which is really neat.
Yep.
And like, it's a thing that I saw. I never, like, I have the red and blue Joy-Cons on my Switch, and I would have never looked at that and said, that's something I'd wear. But then seeing it on you, I'm like, oh, that's totally something I would wear. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, what I love about Neon Red, though, is that like a few of the songs are very overtly obviously about a certain game, like you do, you know, the Pokemon Battle song as well with, are you the voice of Squirtle on that track?
That's me, yeah.
It's just so great. Like, to talk to yourself as Squirtle is so great.
Yeah.
I love it. But like, and so like that and Funky are both very clearly about those video games, but then you have other tracks that are not like the final track on that EP, the moment I heard that Wii Shop track.
Yep.
Like, first of all, I've been obsessed with that because I don't know if you ever saw this YouTube video of someone putting Busta Rhymes over the Wii Shop music.
Yep.
And so, like...
Yeah, there's a good Drake one, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, because it works so well. And so when I heard that you did that for your final track, I was like, that's brilliant. Like, that's music nerd and rap nerd all at once.
Yeah. Shouts to Neku for that beat. He's an amazing producer out of LA.
And it was one of those things that, like, I was shaking all of my friends after I heard it. I was like, you have to hear this song. It's such a brilliant use of this beat. Is that something, like, you discover that track first and you go, okay, what am I putting over this?
Yeah.
And then you wrote the lyrics after the fact?
Yeah. So I go into... when I'm doing Super Smack stuff, I have, like, modes. So I have, like, a mode where I'm, like, in, like... you know, songwriting mode.
Right.
I'm just like writing lyrics, and then I have a mode where I'm like in social media promoting mode, because that's what you have to do as an independent artist. And then one of my favorite modes is like beat hunting mode, and it's just so fun because I just get to listen to music and I'm like just hunting for beats. And so I was beat hunting, and I had like I love the Wii Shop one, so I kind of narrowed it down. It was like a beauty pageant or something, or a game show. I had narrowed it down to these like 4 like Wii Shop remixes, and that was the one that I'm like most connected with, and I reached out to the artist Neku, and he let me use it, and we've actually become like friends since then. So
that's awesome. Cool. Well, what I love about Neon Red also is the rappers that I tend to identify with the most are ones that like pour their heart on their sleeve. It's why I've liked Schaefer so much. I like Dr. Awkward. I like you know, and even you know the rappers back in the day, like I think a lot of the reasons that people connected with Biggie and Tupac and like Snoop is because they were more or less rapping about their lives, the good and bad, but they were open and honest about what they were talking about. And so, like, what I love about Neon Red is from start to finish, it's just like a beautifully positive rap EP just about who you are.
Yeah.
You know, Labo of Love. Like, I love that track, and I love all of it, but the lines that your sister sings are just so effing beautiful, and like it's just such a positive. It's just such a positive. Also, like the A B X Y L R select start. Like that's just. It's such a hook. It's just so easy to repeat, so easy to chant along. Like it's just got one of the. It's one of those songs that gets in your head immediately.
Yeah, she killed it on that. And then my nieces and nephews also killed it.
Oh, is that your nieces and nephews?
Actually, my nieces and nephews.
Is that really your niece going, "Hey, Uncle Smack" on that track? That's amazing.
Yep.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Do they listen to your music at all?
They do.
That's awesome.
Which is really really
How old
fun.
are they?
Like they range like 6 to 10.
Cute.
Yeah, there's
really
like
adorable.
4 or 5 of them.
That's awesome.
Who I'm close with. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do they actually call you Uncle Smack?
Sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
Katie,
cool.
who's the one that is the voice there, she calls me Uncle Smack the most. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your origins, actually, because I could like praise Neon Red and your music all day long.
Thank you.
But you said you have a background in musical theater. I know you recently shared a photo of you in a production of In the Heights that you had done. So was rap always on your radar growing up? Like, did you always like hip hop coming up?
No.
Really?
My connection, I didn't dislike hip hop.
Right.
It's just not something that I listened to. I was as a little kid, I was raised on show tunes. Like my family loves musical theater.
Sure.
So like
yeah,
I think
that tracks.
That helps me now as like a storyteller through music. I'm like, oh, I know how to tell stories through songs. 'Cause that's like I didn't listen to my first pop song until I was like 10 years old.
Nice.
And then in college, I got into like indie rock and indie pop.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't listen to hip hop much. But I was a dancer throughout most of my life. And the style of dance that I gravitated towards the most was hip hop. It was just the one that was like I was best at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, I like this. This is the most fun to do. So the hip hop music that I was exposed to growing up was because I was doing a choreographed dance number to it.
Oh, okay.
But the fun thing about hip hop dance is you also don't. A lot of hip hop dance is done to non-hip hop songs,
Right.
and so that's why I like rapping to, like even non-hip hop stuff now. But I got into hip hop because once I decided to do musical theater, I quit my day job, jumped into musical theater, and a lot of the shows I ended up getting cast in were shows with a hip hop angle because that was the form of dance that I was best at.
Right.
And I had like kind of like an advantage over all these other like musical theater kids who didn't really know how to do hip hop dance. So I got cast in like productions of In the Heights, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's show before Hamilton, and In the Heights exposed me to rap. And because there was some rapping in that show, I tried it out and I was like, oh, this is really fun. I like it. So actually one of the first original rap pieces that I wrote was basically like In the Heights fan fiction. It was like a song that I wrote with the In the Heights characters, like, but not in the show.
Oh, that's
original
amazing.
work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that could do well now. There's a movie coming out. I'm just saying if you mount that and put that out.
That's true. I'll think about that. That's a good idea.
just saying from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like hip hop. I got into hip hop through dance, and then I got into rapping through musical theater, which is a very weird way to go about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But once I started doing it, I was like, oh, I actually like this even more than musical theater, and I wanted to like invest more in writing and producing my own stuff.
Well, what I like about like going back through your older stuff on YouTube is like you've always had a nerdy edge to all of the stuff you've done. Like, so I checked out the Star Wars rap that you did, and that features Robin DeJesus, who I've met before, who's a sweet man.
Yes, he's amazing.
And like when I saw that it was featuring him, I was like, oh, well, now I have to watch this, and it's fantastic. Like, it's great. It's about Anakin not being welcome to join the council and that he'll never be a master, and like also like you doing like what I thought was really brilliant is not only you doing the perspective of Anakin, but also Robin doing Anakin in his own head.
He did Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan in his own head, rather, which I thought was really brilliant. Like, it was just, and is that something that was collaborative to create, or did you like come up with the concept and then?
I wrote every lyric in that song.
Oh, really?
But everyone in that video was in the cast of In the Heights with me. So Robin.
Oh, of course.
Robin originally played Sonny.
Right.
In the original production of In the Heights, he was Lin-Manuel Miranda's like feisty little cousin.
Yeah.
And it was a dream role of Robin's to play Usnavi one day, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's role, the lead role.
Right.
And he got to play it in this production of In the Heights, this professional production in Maryland. And then I got cast in the show as Graffiti Pete, who's like the breakdancer graffiti artist. And so everyone in that, I started writing that piece, and I wrote it with like these cast members.
Right, because you were working with them.
Yeah, and so we shot it
Cool.
we shot it down in Maryland.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. That was like a huge honor to get all these people, including Robin, to like sing my little song about Star Wars.
And for them to all be totally game about it too. Like, that's great. Were they all Star Wars fans? Like, did they understand?
No,
oh, really?
No, most of them were like not Star Wars fans at all, except for Millie, who played Padme.
Yeah.
She's a huge Star Wars fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So taking it back to the current EP that's out, it's called Neon Red. Mm-hmm. Your jacket is both neon red and neon blue. Yep. I have to assume that there's a neon blue coming.
Ooh, you asked.
I did. Is there another EP in the works? Are you planning on pairing it with a blue EP?
There is. I think this is maybe my first official public announcement of this.
Awesome.
So here we go. Yeah, you got the scoop.
Excellent.
I've been telling people in conversation, but yes, there will be a sequel to Neon Red called Neon Blue, and I'm really excited for it because I like the concept of like duality, and so I want to go in like a pretty different direction with Neon Blue. Whereas like Neon Red, I particularly wrote and kind of curated to be this like very bright, extroverted like piece of work. Neon Blue is going to be like a little more introverted, a lot more introverted, a lot more somber. And yeah, it's like basically my Neon Red tracks are like my sunshine tracks, and then Neon Blue is going to be like my rainy day tracks.
That's awesome though.
I'm like mostly a positive person,
right?
But like there are those like, you know, those sides that we all have, and
of
so
course.
I think Neon Blue is going to be more challenging in some ways for me to write, but I'm like really excited for it.
That's awesome.
It'll be different.
Do you have a projected time for it to come out, or?
I'm looking at like first quarter of 2020.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll have to do a combo release and like, you know, all that marketing.
Yeah. I'll do a vinyl where like one side is red and the other.
Exactly. You have each Joy-Con on either side.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, let's talk a little bit about the design of your logo, because obviously it's influenced by the Joy-Cons, but it's got the microphones and that. Is that just born out of the jacket you got and this persona you curated essentially?
Yeah, I wanted to have like a strong kind of like visual motif throughout my live performance look, my videos, my logo, and my branding. So I kind of just like leaned into that. It was like really all started with Choose. It also helps that like red and blue have been my favorite colors since I was like a kid. Like Spider-Man, Superman were always like my favorite superheroes. Pokemon, yeah. So it's just all of these things that I like this like two parts make a whole kind of concept. And this might change at some point. I might do like a chapter 2 of Super Smack, and like it'll look very different, but or I might keep this for a while. I don't know, but this is what I'm feeling right now. So
I mean, it's had so much synergy. I mean, when you released the title of the tour being the Crazy Switch Asians tour with you and Lex, I'm like, that's just brilliant. Of course, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, that was her idea.
I don't doubt it.
She's a marketing genius.
Oh, I would be the first to say. Like, it's so funny because like I adore Lex. It's been a pleasure getting to know her. When we first interacted online, like I just had liked a bunch of her stuff, and so she reached out. She's like, I think I had mentioned that I do a podcast, and then she was immediately game. She's like, she didn't even ask any questions really. She's like, sure, when we can do it, I'll be in New York at this time. I'll be here for this period of time, because I think when she was on the show, it was before she had moved. She had just come in, I think, to do a show, and like was just like super game, and like shared everything once it came out, and like retweeted it and reposted it. Like she knows exactly what she wants from this industry, and I think there's no better person you could have paired with for a tour.
Yeah, it was,
because she totally knows what she's doing.
It was a really, really special experience.
Did you learn anything while you were on tour about yourself or about playing live?
I learned. I think like a couple of the biggest things I learned. Well, first was just like my live performing skills. I feel like I leveled up so much. Like it was really fun to change up things in my set I don't want to ever give the same show twice.
Right.
So I'd always like tweak something, even if it's something as small as like how I introduce a song or how I frame something, or like, you know, how I physicalize this verse on one night versus another night. So that was really fun, and it just like I felt like I just got like all these reps, and I got to like train myself as just this like performing warrior, and I feel like just a lot more comfortable. I was always like pretty comfortable as a performer before, but I have like I just feel like I accessed like another level, and so I don't know. I think all artists like are constantly on this quest of like just getting better. That's what I'm like aiming for. So that was one thing, and then the other was like just connecting with fans. Historically, most of my writing has been pretty like I just write purely for myself, and I share it, and I hope people will like it.
Right.
And I still am going to continue doing that. But now I feel like there's people who are like really connected to my music in all these different cities, and like I have like my nieces and nephews like asking me when my next Super Smack song is going to come out, and I feel like I have this like weird like responsibility now. And so that's definitely a new thing that I'm still kind of like wrapping my head around.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a Venn diagram of like doing, you know, I'm continuing to make the music that's for me, but then it's also for other people. And so I'm hoping to be able to like work in both of those like in the intersection of both of those circles.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I've always said I love about the Nerd Tour community is how people connect. And, like, one of the great things about getting to see you live after obsessively listening to that EP is, like, when you recognize that I knew the lyrics, singing them back at you, and when your sister did as well, when you guys were doing Labo of Love, like, that's the kind of connection you make with an artist that you can't replicate.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And, like...
There's no other feeling like it.
No, like Schaefer used to pick on me because, like, I met Schaefer at an MC Frontalot show, and we became friends after that, just from seeing him at shows and through the burlesque scene and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, he used to joke that he would look to me during his songs if he got lost. Yeah, which I think is hilarious. And I don't know that that's true, but it's still really sweet to say and very funny. But, like, there's something about music for me beyond any other medium that really I feel like connects me to other people and other artists, and the nerdcore community kind of blends a lot of my favorite things. So obviously we're doing music about all sorts of stuff that we grew up together with, like talking about the Super Nintendo. Like I said before, like memories came rushing back after playing those games on Switch Online that I haven't played. Like I couldn't tell you when the last time I played Super Metroid was. Maybe on the Wii because I had it on the Virtual Console.
Right.
But that's at least 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like all of those memories come rushing back until you get to a certain part of the map where you don't remember where you have to go and what you have to do. But like, and I feel like music does that too. Like, especially now that I've seen you live, like I'm going to think about those moments.
Oh, totally.
Live when I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
Touring with Lex, were there any songs that you loved more after hearing them live, or just the experience of being on tour with Lex?
Of Lex's songs?
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the first ones that stands out is like Curse of Creativity.
Sure.
It's like seeing when she performs that live. I think it hits in a very like, it just like hits you in the gut.
Yeah, totally.
So definitely that one. And then
I think
some of her new ones that maybe I can't talk about yet.
That's
she
fair.
hasn't released them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we're on these drives and I'm like, I'm so excited for this song to come out because that song freaking rocks.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, like one of my favorites that she does live that isn't out yet, but she's done live many times is Asian American Beauty.
Yes.
Because like the comedy.
That is out actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It was a VPC song.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So it's like
that's
not
right.
on one of her albums.
Right.
Yeah.
But like that one is so fun to watch her perform live because she just gives no fucks.
Yeah,
she's
goes
just.
ham. It's amazing.
It's so fun. I know you played the Way Station recently, an old haunt of mine. Do you have any plans on going on tour again, or just shows coming up in New York that you're excited for?
I'm thinking about it. Well, I've got a show this Friday.
Cool.
I'm going to be part of this Asian American variety show called Night Market at the People's Improv Theater.
Unfortunately, this will come out the Tuesday after that,
Hey.
but I'm sure it was awesome.
Well, it will have been an awesome show in the future past.
Right, exactly.
And I'm gonna get to do a song with Sung Beats, who's the American beatbox loop station champion.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
So that'll be really fun.
That's awesome.
But I would like to tour at some point in the future. Like next year, I think I would definitely like to. I'm most focused on getting the next EP out.
Sure.
Some singles, some music videos, and then thinking about like my kind of release strategy. For like, I kind of think of the tour as like the end of like phase 1 of like Super Smack. So I'm like having a lot of fun right now, kind of scheming what the next phase is gonna look like.
Yeah. I think what's really cool about following what you've done in such a short time too is like the ideas that you've had that you've put on YouTube or put in places that aren't necessarily on the EP, like Drum Song or the Tap Song you did with a friend of yours. Like you're doing things that I would have never thought of. Like that Tap Song. Like, I first see it, and I'm like, okay, she's going to tap, he's going to rap. But then she starts rapping after your verse, and I'm like, oh, my God. So she can tap and rap. Yeah. Like, that's just such a brilliant concept. Are you always looking for that kind of outside the box, like, different things you can do with the medium?
I think, like, the element of surprise is, like, is really special, and I try and, like, continue to harness that. Because even for other people, for, like, the audience and fans, but, like, also for me, like, it's, like, it keeps it interesting. I don't want to, if I ever get to the point where I like start to get bored with my own work, like I'm gonna stop. Like I'm not gonna just keep on doing it because I feel like
I have to.
Yeah, I do it because I feel some sort of inspiration or some sort of self-challenge of like, what would it be like to rap and tap at the same time?
Sure.
So yeah, I think that challenge is like always what I'm chasing.
Is there any and I like asking, especially artists like you and Lex Schaefer and the others who do things about stuff. Has there been a concept for a song that you've wanted to do, but you just can't get it? Like you can't get it on the page, like about a certain game or a certain movie. Like have you hit challenges where like you really want to make something with that property, but you just can't seem to get it to work?
Yeah, there's one song that I'm working on right now that actually has. I don't want to reveal too much about it yet.
Okay.
But it has me and 3 other nerdcore artists on it, and I am so excited for it because they have all given me their verses, and it's all fire. And I knew it was going to be, and I had I have a very strong concept for the song, and they really executed on that concept. And I have a good hook for it, but I'm just really struggling with the verses because and this is like nobody's fault but my own, but the topic is like a really, really challenging topic for me.
Gotcha.
So it's going to happen. And I'm saying it on this show now.
So like, it's going to happen. Yeah. It'll be official.
Yeah, this is like the challenge, right? But I've like, God, I don't think I've ever had a harder time writing a verse.
Interesting.
Because the subject matter is hard.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'm excited for it because it's like, yeah.
But that's great though that you're viewing it as a challenge, not like a stopping point. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's really great. I think I'd be remiss, since we've talked about video games and your love of video games, to not. I feel obligated to ask you what you're playing on the Switch these days.
Okay.
Just because I feel like the world wants to know.
Sure. So I'm always playing a lot of Smash.
I mean, how can you not?
Yep, I'm always playing a lot of Smash. I'm like.
Do you have a favorite main right now?
Mario.
Really?
I've mained Mario since 64.
Wow.
Every version of Smash has always been Mario.
That's impressive.
And I'm like, for a casual player, I'm like pretty good.
Okay.
So like I get pretty into it and I'll get like very competitive. It's a good way to like just like release like competitive energy.
Sure, totally.
And then I'm slowly making my way through Xenoblade Chronicles.
Nice.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Right.
I'm just taking my time with it because it's like a 100-hour JRPG.
It's ridiculous, yeah, how long that game is.
And then one that I'm playing because like my sister and I grew up playing video games, and when I got back into video games with the Switch, I got her back into it too.
Nice.
We're playing this amazing indie game called Aegis Defenders.
Oh yes, I've heard of Aegis Defenders.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a platforming, tower defense hybrid.
Yeah.
With beautiful like retro 16-bit artwork, and the music is great, and the gameplay's tight, and it's great. I've always loved co-op games growing up.
Yeah. Same.
So those are probably my big ones right now.
Yeah, I find with the Switch, my favorite thing about it is like I can dock it, but most of the time I'll just lay down on my couch and just hold it in handheld mode and play it. Just something about having the system like in my hands is really neat.
Yeah.
I've mostly been playing a lot of indie games. I just finished A Hat in Time.
Oh, I've heard that's...
Which is like, it's like Mario 64 all over again, but it's really cute, and the story is just wacky. You're collecting time, like little hourglasses instead of stars.
How are the controls?
So tight.
Oh,
and I was
so great.
And
that's
I
so
was,
important.
Well, like it's why I didn't love Yooka-Laylee, the first one. I'm excited for Impossible Lair, but the first Yooka-Laylee, the controls were just floaty enough that like it was fun, but it felt off.
Yeah.
But no, Hat in Time is super tight. There's some platforming stuff that made me want to throw my Switch, but not a lot of that.
Okay.
But I had been waiting for that because they announced it was going to come to Switch when it came out on PC, and I was like, if it's going to be portable, I got to wait. And so I waited, and it finally came out recently. Before that, the last big game I played was Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was phenomenal. But like, it took me so long to just get through one of the story paths. Like, there's still 2 others, and I haven't gone back to it.
Yeah.
I prefer. I don't know about you, but as an adult gamer, things that can be bite-sized are so much more important.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
Like looking at a game now on the PS4, and I love my PS4, but looking at a game that like says it's 150 hours, I just look at that and go, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to play that? When am I going to have time to play that?
Yeah, I think what I've realized so as a kid, I would love, like, long RPGs.
You just play it all the time.
Yeah. And now I think it's both a time thing, but it's also, like, the kind of, the type of, like, brainwaves that you're using when playing a game. Like, I have to use so much of my brain, my, like, decision-making and my planning and my creativity in, like, for music stuff.
Yeah.
That... Often when I'm like, I want to play a video game, I just play Smash because
you can kind of turn your brain off a little bit.
I can just use a different part where I'm just like reacting, and it's like instinct and like skill rather than like like exploring and creating something, which I love, but that's just kind of like the balance that I need right now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's why I fell in love with Untitled Goose Game, which like I was excited about anyway because it just looks so ridiculous.
I need to get that.
It's so fun, but like my favorite thing about it is it's about 3 hours long. And it's like, it's puzzle solving, but it's these small bite-sized moments. And it's a stealth game where you're not punished for screwing up. You just get shooed away and you have to figure out another approach. My favorite thing about it is my spouse plays some video games, but she's not really into games.
Yeah.
But when I was playing that on the TV, she knew about the game. I had shown her the trailer. She sat down next to me. She's like, why don't you try that? And gave me a suggestion. And the next thing I know, it's been hours. I'm like, she's telling me, oh, we should go there or go try that. It's just, it's really...
I really like watching people play video games too.
Oh, me too. Yeah. It's why... I'll have to, once we're done on the pod, I have to recommend you one of my other podcasts I do. I do a gaming podcast with a friend of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And we recently did an episode about streamer culture exists because of people like us who grew up loving watching other people play video games.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason I like Twitch streaming myself is because gaming is a communal experience. Like, when I sit on the couch by myself playing a game... I eventually start to feel this weird guilt of like, I should be doing something else. I should be working on a podcast. I should be working on whatever, or go do something, clean the house, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm playing on Twitch and people are in the chat and just hanging out, even if it's only a couple people, I feel like we're in it together.
That's
like
fun.
We're doing the thing together.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. Like, I grew up watching... The reason I love RPGs is because I watched my friend play, like, the first half of Final Fantasy VII. And then I eventually got a PlayStation and went, I gotta get that game. That game was awesome. Or Resident Evil 2. Like, I'm a coward. I can't play horror games. But watching my best friend Matt play that game... And, like, the two of us, the first time Mr. X burst through the wall and we both, like, jump and he throws the controller, like, you're in it together. So you're scared together.
I love that.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing about gaming and why I love a lot of nerd rap or just rap in general that has gaming references. I feel like it's part of the community. Like, there's an understanding amongst people who play games.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm one of those people, like, I don't give a shit whether you're a hardcore gamer, casual gamer, you just play mobile games. Like, it's all gaming.
Yeah.
And I even say, like, if you just watch people play games on Twitch, you like video games.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have the controller.
Yeah. I think we're in a really, like, that 16-bit era was amazing, but I think the current era of video games, we're like, I feel very lucky to be at a point in my life where I can play video games at a time when so many, like, beautiful games are coming out.
Yeah. And like, I love that a lot of games have gone back on the 16-bit or a version of the 16-bit era graphics. You know, like the reason I loved Shovel Knight so much is because it looks like a Super Nintendo game, but a Super Nintendo could never run that game. Like, it's too.
Yeah. That's how I feel about Celeste.
Yes, Celeste is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just like the art styles like that. It's what led me to Goose Game, like that kind of fuzzy, like soft.
Yeah.
Like, and it's brilliant how we've kind of come around where, like, now that we've achieved, like, the most realistic graphics we could probably get a little more realistic, but we've kind of hit the peak of graphics that now people are, like, going backwards going, okay, well, now how can I be creative with the stuff that I'm using to make these games?
Yeah. That's why I liked Nintendo, I think, a lot growing up. Is even still now today, there's a couple games that I've played with, like, hyper-realistic graphics, but it just wasn't really the taste for me. And that's why I kind of embrace this, like, Switch thing with Super Smack. Is like, that's kind of what I want to do with my music. I want to be like, I want my music to feel like colorful and imaginative and like kind of like it's coming from another world. Like, I'm not aiming to like be like, you know, a really, really close replica of anything.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm like happy to like kind of like, you know, tie my flag to Nintendo's, is because I feel like Nintendo's always been a home for like artwork that was like a little bit like kind of odder, but like still very colorful.
I mean, think about like the Paper Mario series. Like, that's a game that like could have never existed if they were going for the best graphics. I totally agree. And I think that shows for sure in your performance and your positivity. Like, it totally reads.
Oh, thank you.
And what I hope for you is that you get a little bit of what, like, people like Mega Man get. Like, I hope someday Nintendo's like, you're the man. Like,
dude,
let's
I
partner.
love that.
Like, I'm putting it out in the world.
I'll never say never, because even though Nintendo's historically taken a very hard line, they've like chilled out like a little more over the last couple of years. So they have like, there's like fresh faces in like the leadership. And these things culture shifts take a long time. But yeah, could happen one day.
Yeah,
Who knows?
A Nintendo sponsored Super Smack track? Like, why not, right?
Yeah.
The last thing I'll ask before we start to wrap up is I always like to ask artists how like what they've learned and what information you could share to an up-and-coming artist, like something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you were starting out that might help someone who's trying to figure out how to get into music or art or whatever else.
Yeah. So one of the things, and it's really funny because I say this at the beginning of Sandra Bullock as like a half joke, but it's actually really good advice, is if you're ever stuck on like or if I'm ever stuck on songwriting, I think about like what's like a secret that I could share. Mm-hmm. What's something that I literally maybe like could not tell somebody in conversation that like that might actually work if I say it in a song. And I think that's that kind of technique or that trick has been helpful to me a couple times. It's worked its way into like quite a few of my songs. And it's a lot of the music that I really like will share something really like personal. So it doesn't need to be like a deep, dark secret.
Sure.
It could.
Sure.
But it could also just be something that you've never thought to say. So that's one of the things that has really helped with me. And then the other is like the other kind of theme of Neon Red is like friendship and family and like the team that you put around you.
Yeah.
And even though rap has this kind of like, I don't know, sheen around it of being this like, oh, it's like this solo thing. It's like, oh, I don't, for me, music making has been so collaborative, and that's
right.
one of the most fun parts about it. So like, you know, build up your squad, like find the people creatively and in terms of just fun that you really vibe with, and like find ways to create with those people. So that's been something that's just kept it really fun for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Super Smack, I appreciate you taking the time.
Dude, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Brilliant. There's only one other thing I need you to do. I was saying on the podcast, which is music is life and life is good. It's this idea that if you're creating art, life can't be that bad. So I would love for you to sign us off by just saying that phrase.
Music is life and life is good.
That's it for this episode of Crash Chords Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review us on iTunes and Facebook. You'll help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email matt.storm@crashchords.com or hit us up on Twitter @CrashChordsWeb. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Victor Devon, and I am the host of We Burlesque, the podcast. Every Monday, I talk to fabulous denizens of nightlife, including burlesque performers, both seasoned and new to the form, drag performers, performance artists, DJs, and artists who make up their respective scenes. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Please visit WeBurlesque.com to check out episode recaps and see all the formats available. And remember that music is life. Life is good.